A lot of surprises, and we've talked about it, Rob. The NFC being really, it's been a while since I can think of a conference that I feel like has been this mediocre. Philadelphia right now, the top team, they're 6-0, only undefeated team in football. But you got questions about them, right? The quarterback is young and fairly unproven, didn't play well in his one playoff game. So you got questions about them. The Giants, obviously, you got questions about them, even though they're 5-1. Dallas, not a sure thing. Minnesota, Rob, Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback.
Right.
He ain't great, so you're going to have questions about them. Tampa Bay, we've talked about them. The Niners, the Rams,
Green Bay, all
Green Bay. Yeah, 3-3. And when they lost their first game to Minnesota and didn't play well at all, we said last year they started that way, right?
It's going to take a little time, too, because they have, with some young receivers. So we said, okay, we got it. They won their next 3 games. They were 3-1. And then they've lost 2 really horrific games to me. They lost to the Giants in London, and the Jets came to Green Bay, to Lambeau, and steamrolled them. And
as you would say, took their lunch money.
They did. They punched them in the face and took their lunch money, and it was up front. They manhandled Rodgers. They got to the quarterback. It was impressive, for real. And I don't know what's going on in just seeing the Packers where they are, and where they're 3-3. Last year they were 13-4, Chris, right? 13-4. The year before they were 13-3, and the year before that they were 13-3. So they're already got 3 losses here, and they ain't running no table. Not the way this team looks.
No. At this point they got to fight for their playoff
spot, right?
And I didn't look, even though I picked them to get to the Super Bowl, which I'm certainly not feeling good about right now.
Can after 6 games you can't feel good. They're not under 500, but they just haven't played well.
No, and they just, like you said, they don't look good. Jair Alexander said after they lost to the Giants, he probably said it somewhat tongue-in-cheek, probably. I wasn't there. But remember, he was asked if he's worried or concerned, and he said, if we lose next week, I'll be concerned.
And he should be concerned now.
Right? Because, he's thinking, the Jets, right?
Right.
We're gonna do damage to the Jets.
Well, you figure you'll get healthy. The Jets have won some games, but still, you don't come up to Green Bay and hold them with no points, offensive points in the second half.
Right.
And just the way, you have to look at the way the game is lost. Sometimes somebody's just better, or they make a play or something, or there's a bad turnover. They dominated up front, and that's why they were able to run the ball.
They got some good young players.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
They do. On
they
defense,
got some
they
nice
do.
Young players. Yep. And offense too. Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. Like they Robert Saleh. He sounded crazy when he was talking about taking receipts, but so far he's made good on that. Yeah. Wow. I'm just saying that so far since then. They have played very well. But, Rob, Aaron Rodgers was asked what he thought they could do to turn it around. And he said they got to simplify things. I'll read what he said. I just think that based on how we've played the last 2 weeks, I think it's going to be in our best interest to simplify things for everybody, for the line, for the backs, for the receivers. Just simplify some things, and maybe that'll get us back on track. And Rob, he was asked, does he think he needs to play better? And he said, he talked about needing to look at the tape. And then he said, yeah, I might need to bring it up a little tick. And I'm saying this, Aaron Rodgers, you need to bring it up way more than a tick, my man.
Relax.
A tick ain't gonna do, and I will not relax.
Rodgers!
Rob, like you said about Brady, I'm not ready to say this is the end by any stretch. But I'm going to say this. This is not the Aaron Rodgers we become accustomed to. This is not even, because you remember before LaFleur got there, he had kind of had some off years for him. Still good years, but way down by his standards. And even then, though, Rob, he was better than this. Aaron Rodgers has not thrown for even 260 yards, Rob, in a game this year. Aaron Rodgers has not had one 3-touchdown game yet. And I get it. The receivers leave a lot to be desired. And on Sunday, Rob, they dropped 6 passes. 6!
I mean, that's another thing, Chris, and it's not to make any excuses, but you remember, what was the game against Minnesota, the 75-yard bomb or whatever it was to start the game?
Christian Watson.
Right.
The rookie.
Like stuff like that.
Romeo Dobbs dropped one a couple weeks later.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like this is what's been happening, but still, I'm with you. It's more than a couple of a tick or whatever.
Right.
And I get it. The offensive line is terrible. The receivers have cost them some big plays so far. And it could change everything, Chris. When you make one of those big strikes,
right,
it changes the game. It makes the defense have to be like, oh my, which also will open up the running game. They got 2 great runners. Chris, I watched the game. They're getting stopped in the backfield when he hands them the ball.
Yeah,
they're through the line.
Because and one thing they're saying, the receivers can't get open.
Right. It's a big deal.
And then, like you said, if the receivers can't get open, then they are going to be able to focus on the run game.
Exactly, and that's what's happened, and it's bad all across the board, but Aaron has to pick it up as well. He's not to be excused, and it's just mind-boggling when I look around the NFL, Chris, and I see these quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Kyler Murray's numbers, Chris, are god-awful. Have you seen what he?
He's really
regressed.
And Rob, you mentioned 2 of those guys, Rodgers and Murray, got paid, not paid.
Right.
Rodgers is the highest paid per year in the league.
Yep,
$50 million a year, and obviously Kyler got his deal. And I think, Rob, in all of those circumstances, here's what's missing: not Brady's, because he's still got Evans and Godwin. Obviously, Rodgers misses Devontae Adams. Obviously, Kyler misses DeAndre Hopkins. And when Brady hasn't had even just Godwin, even if he's had Evans, he hasn't been the same.
They've struggled, Chris. They've been, remember, the first 3 weeks was field goal heaven.
Yep.
They couldn't get in the end zone in the red zone.
And even Dak, I mean, he only played 1 game, but he missed Amari Cooper. So Rodgers and Brady, now like Mahomes, they've always been able, Rob, to make up for not having, that top guy, that top receiver, right? You see Mahomes doing it without Tyreek. We saw Brady do it for years in New England. We seen Rodgers do it at times, in Green Bay. Here's what I wonder. And I don't know yet. It's only 6 games. Coming off back-to-back MVPs, I'm not going to jump after just 6 games. But I do wonder, Rob, if Rodgers has reached that point where he can't carry just pretty good receivers. I mean, just Rob, like we've read the stat. He was 7-0 with tremendous numbers. I think it was 19 touchdowns, 1 pick without Devontae Adams heading into this season.
7-0 in his last 7 and 9-1 in his last 10 games without him. Yeah, the numbers were tremendous.
He didn't miss him a lick.
Right.
Obviously, this year he does. And so, look, Rob, he's 38. He'll be 39 in December. Most people aren't going to play great in their 43, 42, 43 years old.
No. At some point, it'll drop off. I just have to see a little bit more if the offensive line gets a little bit better, Chris, and some of these young receivers start catching the big plays. It might not happen. It might not happen this year, and it might be a wash, and they might not make the playoffs, and the line's just not good enough. and the guys they have aren't good enough and they don't get any help. You know what I mean? They might not be able to get any help, and they'll be stuck. But if they play the way they've played the last 2 weeks, they're not making the playoffs because they have been as bad as it gets.
I'm not sold on the 2 New York teams.
No, I'm not either.
You know, I mean, come on. So
yeah, six drops, Chris, is a lot. You can't have 6 drops in an NFL game.
Well, and I think, and look, your off season's your off season. I'm really not gonna crush a guy for, you know, when you're off and you're a veteran and, you know, you're a superstar, you can take off. But you do think, Rob, I got a bunch of new receivers. Devontae's gone. Let me get a weekend with these young boys. You know what I mean? Just to get timing down, because I think that's a big part of it is the timing isn't there. They don't know him. He doesn't know them. You know what I mean?
Well,
and I think that's a factor. And again, like I said, you're free to do what you want in your off time. But that's where I think you would have benefited from something like that.
And some people had the same for Brady with the 11 days off in camp. You know what I mean? Like,
I think that was worse. The 11 days.
Yeah,
you know,
11 days.
I'm talking more about like the
off season.
Where you know voluntary workouts. You don't have to go, but you know maybe you go to just throw with or have them out to where you're at, or you meet somewhere or whatever, and your turn to weigh in on the question of Aaron Rodgers. Just a bad streak, bad slump, or a sign that he's washed. Your turn to weigh in.
No Discover?
No.
Okay. All right.
I'll get to that.
No sweat. I just was checking. 877-99 on Fox. Sean in Sacramento, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What up, Sean?
Yo, my uncle's from another mother. My brother's behind the board. What's up to Iowa, Sam? Fellow meat eater. How you doing today,
That's
brother?
Right.
Great. Thanks for asking.
Yes, sir. We gonna have to
You
put
just
a pair of
made
rings
Iowa
out here to
Sam's
tack,
day.
man.
Yes. I was eating all the meat he can with baked potatoes. Go ahead.
Hey, Iowa, biggest pork
bruh.
producing state, man. Iowa, biggest pork producing state. But my take real quick, though, fellas, is, man, I think we seeing the downfall of my guy, Aaron. And I'm going to throw it to my man, you know, I'm going to make the Baba Ganoush like the fella on later on tonight. Sex, drugs, and mayhem, man. Number one, in the offseason, you was so worried about your breakup from your girl. You went down to some wild city, started doing all kinds of drugs, and look what you did, man. You left the rest of your team out to hang, man. Not only did the lack of money cause them to lose Devontae, but who's on that offensive line? Who's on that special team that gave up a freaking missed field goal for a touchdown? It's the entire team that suffers when you got a leadership like that. He needs to stop talking about what coaching staff could do, how everybody needs to play better, and he needs to up it way more than a tick. I'm with y'all fellas on this. Aaron might be a wrap.
But I'd say this.
Wasn't he doing the drugs, which I don't advocate, but wasn't he doing that before the MVP year? At least the second one?
He was doing that this offseason, Chris. You know,
I know he was doing it this offseason. I know he was doing it this offseason, but I think he was doing it before at least one of the MVPs.
And
too.
Sean, to be fair, the Packers offered Devontae the same or more money, so he just decided he didn't know what.
Only
Rodgers
thing I'll
gonna
say
do.
about that, Rob,
It wasn't
and
like
I don't know
they didn't lowball him or anything. But.
No, but I if I was in Aaron Rodgers' shoes, Rob, I would have been like talking to Devontae throughout the whole process. You know,
but I'm just saying,
trying
like,
letting him know,
money-wise,
look, dude, I want you back. And, you know, I'm sure he wanted him back, but I don't know if he did.
If he wanted to live
all
in Green
that
Bay,
recruiting.
right. That's the other thing. Jason in Rockford, Illinois, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What up, Jason?
Hey, guys, thanks for taking my call, man.
Yes.
I'm a longtime Packer fan. It just feels like he's phoning it in. You know, like he got paid,
wait a minute, but let me
going through the motions.
But you not? Are you looking at the drops? Are you looking at the offensive line? I mean, I hear you.
Oh,
he's not playing
was
well.
bad yesterday. He was bad. I took my son to the game for his first game, 7 years old. And
wow.
He's not going to remember how bad it was. He's going to remember the good time he had. But man, I saw him play. I think sometimes he just if you run the wrong route by like a yard. It's like rather than throw it to you when you're open, he throws it to where you're supposed to be. Like he's just like fed up with guys that don't want to help him.
I'll say this: just like Brady doesn't seem fully engaged. I feel like I'm getting those vibes from Rodgers too. I don't know, but
I'll say this though, Jason and Chris. The only thing they have going for them if they turn this around is in that division, they got 2 games with the Lions. They got the Bears, Chris, in Green Bay, and they play Minnesota again. The season's not lost yet.
No,
if they can get it.
No, it's not.
If
It's
they
not
can,
lost.
you know what I mean? If they
Rob.
can get it straightened out. I mean,
and it ain't just the division.
right.
It's the conference.
Thanks a lot, Jason. Appreciate it.
Right. I mean, I didn't think they'd be I didn't think they'd be as good as they were last year.
I
You
thought
lost Devontae Adams.
I'm gonna be honest.
I just thought the
they'd be-
conference is so bad though that they would be the best in the conference.
I thought they would be 5-1 at this point. I'm sorry. I thought Giants and Jets.
Wow.
2 wins, Chris. I mean, they were 3-1.
I thought they'd lose about 6 games this year.
Okay.
So they may. I mean, they still could easily go 11-6. So.
Yeah. All right, MJ in New Orleans. You're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What up, MJ?
What up, Happy?
What's up, man?
City Monday, man.
Yes, Magic
Hey,
City Monday.
I'm going to have to call it that old Aaron Charles Rodgers. It's a bad stretch, exactly like Patrick Mahomes was last season. And I'm saying it's all his fault for signing his extension prior to the best receiver last year, Devontae Adams, signing his contract. Just looking at the numbers, 1,400, 3 yards, 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 94.2 QBR. Not a bad season on anybody's account. We might be holding it against him just like they did Patrick Mahomes last season.
Yeah, he's not playing as well as Mahomes played last season. I mean, Mahomes had a down year for him. It wasn't this bad. And they were, but